Hey, and welcome to the Ambitious Bookkeeper podcast. I'm Serena Shoup, CPA, a mom of three, and I've been running a virtual bookkeeping business from my home since 2017. You are in the right place if you are a bookkeeper, accountant, or an accounting student, and you believe and know in your heart that your purpose is bigger than sitting in a cubicle. If you're ready to learn some actionable tips and strategies for starting and growing your accounting business, then I hope you stick around. Welcome back to the Ambitious Bookkeeper podcast, and this is another episode in our Neurodivergent series. Today, I have Aneisha from Yellow Sky Bookkeeping on to chat with us all things bookkeeping and neurodivergent. Is that how you would say it? Neurodivergence? Neurodiversity?
Yeah,
No.
neurodiversity sounds weird. No, that sounds weird. Divergence,
But
yeah.
welcome. Introduce
Yeah.
yourself for our listener.
So I'm Aneisha, founder of Yellow Sky Bookkeeping. So I do bookkeeping for small business owners, and I'm also late diagnosed autistic, and then the ADHD like on the side, which came as a surprise, but not
Mhm.
really when I looked into it more. And it's kind of why I started my
Yeah.
bookkeeping business. I can talk
Yeah.
about that more, but yeah, they're related. So
Let's definitely dive into that
yeah.
then. Let's just jump right in.
Um, yeah, so before bookkeeping, I actually was a sign language interpreter for 8 years. So I went to school for that, graduated, went straight into interpreting, and that's mostly like freelance work. And I did like part-time work at a college. And it was great because it was flexible. Like I could mostly pick my schedule more or less. I
Mhm.
had more say over it. And then there were days where I could like not have work and then like a college schedule, like work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then maybe Tuesday, Thursday, take other work, freelance, or just rest. So it was great for that, but it's very, very people heavy. I didn't know at the time, like that was probably what was burning me out, but I was like 5 years in, I was like, I need to figure out
Mhm.
something else to do because I didn't know if I could keep going. And then there wasn't really anything else to like pivot into, like be a teacher, which I'd already before thought about doing. And I was like, no, that won't work. Or like, what was the other? It's just like full time interpreting. So I was
Mhm.
like, what else can I do? So there's kind of like the next few years was like trying different things. So yeah, I did like online math tutoring, online ESL tutoring, and then through all of those things, it was like I was starting mini businesses and like having to do my books. At the
Mhm.
time, I didn't know that's what it was, but I was like kind of enjoying that part of the process, like tracking my students and who paid and how much they have left and all of that. So I was like, is this something I can do for work? So it's kind of how I ended up like finding bookkeeping. And kind of in the middle of that, it was like pandemic 2021, I believe. Yeah, it was 2021 because it was like the Texas snowstorm issue. I don't know if you remember
Mhm.
that. It was like in the middle of that was when I was like, I think I'm autistic, like, and that's like a whole other weird story how I figured it out. But in the middle of that pandemic snowstorm, I was like, I'm autistic and I want to go get or I want someone else to verify this because like I know I could probably just like go with it and do all the advice to change your life and stuff, but I kind of needed the external validation at the time
Yeah.
because I didn't want to like say I was, but then internally be like, well, what if I'm wrong? Or maybe I'm just reading
Mhm.
it wrong. Yeah. So that's kind of why I decided to get diagnosed. And I got pretty lucky with that, I think, because I was like, I had watched a YouTube video about a woman who also realized she was autistic and she worked for an autistic foundation. And so she had resources to go check to get diagnosed. And I went
Mhm.
to Psychology Today. That was one of the ones she said to check. And so you can like put in your area and see like who pops up and then who like specializes in autism, especially in adults, because it's different than if you're a kid. And I got lucky. There was like a doctor in some like Dallas Fort Worth. There was one in Dallas, and he was doing everything virtually during the pandemic. So I was able to like get online, find the website, make an appointment. Like once I'm like want to do something, I'm like I'm gonna do it. So
Oh, yeah.
so yeah.
Me too.
So it was like that day, I was like, all right, let's sign up. Let's get the process started. Like, what do I need to do? So yeah, that's how I like got the process started. Most people it takes a while, but I don't know if it was the pandemic or which doctor
Yeah.
I chose, but it was, I would say, within the month they were like scheduling me for the testing process. So it didn't take too long. Yeah.
What was that
Mhm.
process like? So you went through a multitude of tests or
It was all virtual. First you meet with them, kind of like explain basically why like you want to get diagnosed, this is what's happening, and then we met online, and then my husband, like they were like he can join too because he was going to be part of the process, because they give you first like a questionnaire to for you to fill out and then for your family to fill out.
Mhm.
Ideally it would be your parents, but I mean, I was like, yeah, I don't think they would be able to fill it out, so they had my husband do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more relevant if it's the family, the people that you're around on a daily basis to witness the behaviors,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, because it's just questions like I can't remember them. Like for I had to give my perspective. Like anytime I was like, now I'm trying to remember them. Really picky. It's like they're trying to pull out those characteristics.
Mhm.
So like how you would describe it, and then how someone looking at you would describe it, and then after that, then they do like the testing, almost I guess like IQ testing, where they just give you these series of tasks to do and complete, and there's the tester on the other end on the like Zoom call where they're watching you and bringing up things. And that I think there was a few tests they had to like mail me something, so we had to wait for it to get there.
Oh, interesting.
It was kind of fun because I like puzzles, so some of them were puzzles.
Yeah.
Like it was like 4 parts, I think, so like 4 different days, like scheduling to finish. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
hmm
Was it at any part in the process, did you feel, like, stressed out about it or, like, unsure about following through, or were you just like, "I just want to know the truth about myself so bad?"
I just wanted to know because I've just always wondered if I was autistic, but most of like the visuals you see are like, Sheldon or Dr. House from House. So it's like, well, I'm not like that, but it would always like keep popping up. So I just really
Mhm.
wanted to know. Like once I found like women who are autistic describing their experience, I'm like, oh, that matches me more. So I was like, maybe there is something to this. So I just wanted to know. Yeah.
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 And then as far as the ADHD diagnosis, did that come along with it? Like, when you were during that same process, they were like, "Oh, also you have
hmm
ADHD." Okay.
Yeah, it
Is
was
it
the end
really
result.
is it really common for those to be paired?
It seems like it. And what's funny about that is I would watch a lot of ADHD content because I suspect like my husband is. So I was trying to help him out, but then I was like, oh, some of this is like kind of fits me too, but not all of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I have like my own personal theory that neurodivergence is just like one thing being expressed different ways. Kind of a weird comparison, but like autoimmune disease is like one problem, but depending on where it shows up in your body, we call it like different names. So I feel like it's like a similar thing happening, but I'm not a doctor, so.
Yeah. Interesting. So, when you got that diagnosis, what did it change for you? Is that when you were like, "Okay, I'm gonna go all in on bookkeeping?" What was the timing on that?
Well, first of all, it was like, oh, there's a reason why certain things just don't work for me. Like interpreting just all the people. Like I could pinpoint what was like burning me out. Like I was like, was it the work or aspects were not working for me? Like it kind of helped me sift through stuff. So I was like,
Mhm.
okay, so interpreting is definitely no go. Like it gave me the push to like really change because I kind of had been like, well, maybe I could keep doing this. It's good money, schedule's okay. But after the diagnosis, I was like, no, because I'm gonna burn myself out. Because really common with people with neuro autism, especially, is they get like all sorts of autoimmune issues. Physical problems are really common. I think because you're just not working with how your brain and body needs to work. So
Mhm.
after the diagnosis, I gave me that extra push, like, okay, I need to do this because I'm autistic. I like
Yeah.
in a positive way.
Were there things that you had already, like, adapted in your life that or adapted to that were supportive of being autistic or even ADHD? Because there's been, like I've had conversations with people I'm undiagnosed, nothing right now,
Mhm.
but I have a couple people in my life that are diagnosed ADHD, and they're like, are you sure you're not? Like everything that, especially when they meet me in person and like, they're like,
Mhm.
chances are you are by the way that you behave. And I'm like, well, for me, it's like a diagnosis doesn't really matter because I've already found a way of life that is supportive of what I need and in my schedule and the type of work that I'm doing and the way that I live and die by my calendar and reminders and timers. I found a way to function. So my question for you is like, were there things that you were already doing that were supportive of this that you're like, "Oh, okay, it makes sense. That's why I function this way," or
Hmm.
if there's
That's a
anything
good one. Like I already knew I need like a schedule, like a routine to do stuff. Otherwise, like if my routine gets thrown off, I'll get thrown off for like weeks. So I would have schedules, routines. I already knew I needed time alone, like away
Mhm.
from people and like just time to be quiet, not talk to anyone. So I knew those things about myself, but I would say like after the diagnosis, it's almost like the validation. Like it's not, I mean, it is just how I am, but there's like a reason for it. It's not going to change anytime soon. Like I
Yeah.
always felt like eventually I'll be more social or eventually I'll be able to like not need to wake up at the same time every day, even on the weekend. You know, I'll be able to be that person who like, I'll wake up at 11 a.m. on the weekend and be fine. And it's like, no, it's like it just gave me more reason to be more myself, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then for mostly it's for other people, like, because if they're like, oh, that's just how you are, like growing up, you know, you're just like the quiet one, or they'll grow out of it. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, this is just how I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was more
Yeah.
for other people to help. It helped me put more boundaries too around like protecting my schedule and routines, saying no to going to things. Afterwards, I just said no. I felt like I was saying no to everything.
Mhm.
I'm like,
And then you
yeah,
were like, "I feel guilty for doing that sometimes, but I get it." So
yeah.
that's where it's helpful to have that diagnosis because
Hmm.
then it's like it gives you permission to not feel guilty
Yes.
because it's like what you physically need.
Yeah, it was just a good reason. It was like to show to people. Like I would go to church a lot, and that was just really draining the social part of it. And I really felt guilty about not going. But after the diagnosis, it's like like I need to be at home at 7:30 in the evening because otherwise it throws my week off. Like I tracked
Yeah.
my emotions for like months before the diagnosis, so I could draw on that data. It's like every time I would go to this thing, the next few days were like red.
I totally understand that. I'm like, there's if I exert myself with like a high activity day of peopling or even like
Mhm.
high physical activity, like the next 24 hours, I'm like in bed.
Yeah, yeah. So,
So, yeah, I totally get it.
mhm.
So, moving more into like the bookkeeping. So, if you're still listening, if you're still with us after all of this, we're going to now talk about bookkeeping, yay, which is what the podcast is really about. But I wanted to just kind of like showcase like that diagnosis part of the process because I haven't talked about that on any of the other parts of this series. And so I was just like personally curious about it, especially if anyone's listening and they're like, I think I might be ADHD or whatever, but I don't like, I'm curious about what the process looks like. I mean, there's Google, but it's always nice to like just hear
Yeah.
things from real people. So, what are some of the things that the way that you function in your business or with clients, like that you do that you find really beneficial for you and for your clients? So, like, either the way you set up your schedule or the type of work that you're doing, like, give us kind of the lay of the land on that.
The first thing that comes to mind is communication, just because for me personally, I like really clear communication. I'm trying to think how to say it because it's not that I misunderstand people, but people don't realize what they say can come across different ways.
Mhm.
And sometimes I need to make sure, like, okay, do you mean this thing or this thing? And so when I'm talking to clients or like prospective clients, I just always remember that like this needs to be clear, but there's always a chance that someone could just see something else in the message that I didn't think of. And if they do, I don't, it's not like I'm going to get upset. I'm just be like, oh, I just didn't, think of that. So next time, maybe I need to like change how I said it. But the whole point is like not getting upset at people for misunderstanding just because it
Yeah.
happens. Like just because I've been misunderstood so much or my intent been misunderstood, and that can be hurtful, especially as a kid. So just talking to anyone else, I just don't assume bad intention. I just assume like maybe they just didn't understand. I need to say more clearly or ask a different way. You know, like I think that's like a big part of how I talk to people, just especially clients.
Yeah. I mean, that can be helpful for anybody.
Yeah, especially bookkeeping because it's like we're asking stuff most people have never thought of or just have
Hmm.
no idea about. They don't know why we need like a certain form from their tax return before we,
Yeah.
get started. They're like, what's that for? So I didn't assume
Yeah.
they're trying to hide anything. They just don't know.
That's
Hmm.
one of the things that is part of I do a presentation for business owners on bookkeeping and finance. And one of the things I always talk about is I explain to them why we ask
Hmm.
for bank statements and I do that with my clients too because I just want people to understand. I'm not just like willy-nilly asking for personal documents. Like there's a purpose behind all of these. And it's not to
Yeah.
pry into your personal life,
Yeah.
but it's like because we actually need information off of it. It's going to make everyone's lives easier if we get all of this up front. Yeah, that's for anyone listening. It's a good idea to, and now I'm like, oh, this is something I could add to my onboarding, like next to my list of documents of like, this is why we need what we're asking for.
I've started doing that with especially cleanups. Like I'll just record a short loom. Like one time I was asking like, "Hey, Square shows you got cash, but I don't see that deposit. Like, like where did you deposit it?" And they didn't answer. Then I made a loom video just kind of explaining. It's like I just need to know if you put in your personal account or a different business account, not in QuickBooks. It's like totally fine either way. I
Yeah.
just need to know where it went. And then they answered.
Hmm.
But just quick explanations like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Such a
Hmm.
good point. I always try to approach things from the business owner standpoint. I'm like, if I was the client, what would I
Hmm.
need from the person asking for this information? And I always love to know why things are the way that they are.
Same. Yeah. Do you remember like when you're a kid and they're like spell like I cup or something? Like people just randomly say something and they're trying to do like a joke. And I was the
Mhm.
person who I was like, why? I
But
wouldn't do it.
why?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
They'd have to ask someone else.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that is linked to that like strategic way of thinking that a lot of neurodivergent people have. That's like our superpower is just like being able to like connect the dots and like think strategically. And if you know the why, then you can be like 10 steps ahead of
Mhm.
where we're going. Like I always approach like new processes and stuff the same as like, okay, well, why are we doing it this way before we try to redesign the process? What's the end goal? Why are we doing it this way? And like, here's a fresh perspective. But yeah.
Mhm.
So what are some of the ways that you manage your day that have been helpful for anyone listening that's like, I'm struggling to stay focused, or I'm afraid that I'm going to drop the ball when it comes to client stuff. And so I'm not putting myself out there because that's a real thing too of being like, okay, I know how to bookkeep and I know what I'm doing. But like, what's holding me back is that I'm afraid that this neurodivergent situation I'm in is going to get in the way of offering the service I want to offer. So, what do you do that helps?
I get curious about what will work or not because I've tried different ways of structuring like my day and week and
Mhm.
month really because it's like a month cycle. So I think in the beginning I would do like certain clients on different days and then I tried time blocking. It never works for me.
Me neither.
It does not work. But I keep thinking like maybe this time it will work. And I'm just like, no, it just doesn't. After my diagnosis, I was like, maybe that's why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried it once and I was just like I just overwhelmed myself even more. I got too caught up in like what's on my calendar and spent
Yes,
forever
seeing
trying.
everything in the boxes and no empty space, I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah. No.
So, yeah, I try different things, but I think what's
Mhm.
worked is because I tend to work in cycles. So, like, I might like have like a time like to like waking up time, and then but once I hit like when I'm productive, I get a lot of stuff done in a short amount of time. So I try to take advantage of just that. Like, when am I most productive? And I schedule like my current schedule is like Monday is I work on the business, like a CEO day. Or it's
Yeah.
not client work, no meetings. And then
Yeah.
like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is like each day has a certain type of client work. But like I, for some reason, the middle of the week is just better for me work wise to get stuff done, like really involved, focused stuff. And then Friday is kind of like a like tapering off whatever day. But that's almost like that ramp up productive and then ramp down. It's kind of like the same each day too. Like I have that same cycle. So I try to work with my energy, but it's just getting curious, like, okay, what happens if I try this? And then if it doesn't work, it's like, okay, so like either if part of it worked, let's go more in on that part and then leave the rest.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'm kind of obsessive about like systems and making processes more efficient. I think I spend as much time on that as like client work because every time I get it down, I can spend less time on
Yeah.
client work. So even in the beginning, I was listening to like podcasts for people with like big firms, even though I just had like two tiny clients and some subcontracting work. Cause I was like, I already know like I need to like save my energy. So I need to operate like I'm a big firm, even though I'm not. So
I love that. I do something similar where like I don't do calls Mondays or Fridays, and now I'm back trying to not do calls on Wednesdays either unless like a client needs to meet and that's the only opening, but I'm trying to not have any calls on Wednesdays, so that's like my deep work day where it's like if I do have a project or client work or something that it needs focus, I have all day uninterrupted to just not worry about the time.
yeah.
But I like the idea too of like if you can pay attention to your energy levels. I know it's not possible for everybody. Like for me, I'm like I have kids in school, so it's like
Mhm.
I kind of have to make a certain time window work, and part of that usually does work, but then some days it doesn't. I always have like an afternoon slump, so I'm like I know I'm not really going to be
Mhm.
productive in the afternoon, so like maybe that's when I do like my CPE or
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a good, really good piece of advice. And then just making systems more efficient and having systems in place to keep you on
Mhm.
track is a good point too.
Yeah, it saves the time. Like the time put into it pays off.
I agree wholeheartedly. Okay, so you are not currently, like we talked about this before we hit record, you're not technically targeting neurodivergent businesses, but you're attracting them. So what do you think that's about?
I think it's because I try to be almost obsessively clear
Mhm.
and patient. The good thing about my interpreting, because it was so like social customer service focused, is I'm used to working with different kinds of people with
Mhm.
different abilities and being understanding. Or even just like it's normal. Like I don't make it feel like you have something wrong with you. It's just like, oh, you need more time. Okay, that's fine. I need more time too. Or like I have a few clients who, well, I know for sure one has ADHD, and that was like my newer one. And we've actually talked about this before, but on the calls, like she might be talking and then say like, oh, like you're typing. Do you need me to like not talk while you're typing? And I'm like, no, I'm actually typing, so I don't forget stuff I want to say later. Like we can talk about it,
Mhm.
and even with clients who don't have it, I can still be like really clear about like, oh, do you need me to do this for you? Because that's fine. Like, and then in my marketing, because I'm on Threads, I think that's how we connected for
Yeah.
this. But I'm trying to like test things, like how to explain stuff and see like how people respond, because a lot of I think content for accounting and bookkeeping, it just assumes a lot of knowledge that people should have to understand what you're even saying. And I don't like to assume people know things. I like to explain it in normal speak, assuming you don't know anything, because I feel like everyone should know at least the basics
Yeah.
if you have a business. Yeah. And that comes from I think interpreting also, because we have to take concepts and interpret it visually and then make sure it's clear. And then when we're like interpreting it back into English, it's the same thing. My brain's just really good at that.
That's really
Mhm.
cool. I agree with that too. That's one of the things that like that presentation that I do at the beginning of it, I'm always like, okay, you might already know some of this stuff, but I'm going to take things down to the basics because some of you might have never been taught or know some of these things, but they're foundational. So if you do know it, it's a good refresher. But I'm
Yeah.
going to speak to the beginner in the room, and then we're going to work our way up so everyone can be on the same page by the end of the presentation.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's sometimes it's stuck in your like your silo of, especially if you're used to talking to your peers and industry peers, and then trying to translate like what it is we're doing to a regular business owner who probably doesn't have a business degree, so they don't know all the lingo, and they're also afraid and ashamed to ask for help because money
Mhm.
is scary for a lot of people. So there's like all these layers that you just have to learn to accommodate.
Yeah, it's a lot.
For sure. So you said that you had a whole page of notes of ideas. So is there anything that we haven't covered yet that
Let me see.
you really wanted to jam on today?
Oh, calls with clients.
Oh, yeah, let's talk
Uh,
about that.
yeah. I mean, I've tried different things, like having calls, like just my calendar. My calendar is my source of like when I'm available, and so I've tried having like different days available, times all day on different days available. So currently, I have it's Wednesday, Thursday, and that's just like my calendar. So if people want to meet, I just direct them to my calendar and let my
Mhm.
calendar be the one that says yes or no. And then if someone does need a time outside of that, then I take that case by case. Like if it's someone who I think respects my time and the schedule, then I'll be like, yes, I can accommodate you. And I like it because it leaves time for sometimes like I have clients with kids, it's like they need a different time. Like that's cool because I can be
Yeah.
flexible. But otherwise, everyone just defaults to that schedule, and it just makes it easier to keep time open for emergencies or last minute changes. Or if someone who doesn't respect my time and they're like, hey, do you have something else available? And I'm like, nope, sorry, you can check next week.
Yeah, the other thing too that I really, because I do the same thing, like I said, it's just Tuesdays and Thursdays open on my calendar, and I do the same thing case by case. I'll schedule people outside of that, but what it also provides for us is predictability. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not worried about like waking up on a Wednesday morning
Mm-hmm.
with like that, "Oh, which client am I talking to today?" None of them.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, you're at least guaranteed a couple days of like, I know today's gonna be I need to be on point on energy because I'm gonna be on a lot of calls because this is one of the only days that people can book with me versus I don't have to get makeup on today. I can work in my pajamas and just get stuff done. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like really nice to have that level of predictability on that front as well.
And I can look for I'm like I do like talking to people, especially when I can prepare for it and I know what's coming. So it makes helps me look forward to calls
Yeah.
instead of being like, oh, I have to do this again, like,
Mhm.
dreading it. Sometimes I wonder like if that's because I'll see people post like job posts like I need someone who's client facing, front facing, and I mean I don't know how many people they get for that, but it's like a stereotype that accountants aren't like people.
Yeah.
But sometimes I wonder how much of that is just because we don't like put those boundaries around communication. Like you just want to throw the person to the wolves. Like you must talk to them. Like no
Yeah.
boundaries, anytime, all day, no schedule. That's what it sounds like sometimes with those job
Yeah.
postings. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Which also is just like when you think about productivity,
Mhm.
just for anyone, you don't have to be neurodivergent for this, but like context switching is so inefficient.
Mhm.
So if you're switching between being on a call and then trying to dive into client work and then going on another call or like getting interrupted by like an actual ring from a
Mhm.
client without expecting it. You have to stop what you're doing. Because I used to do this when I worked in a firm. Like if a client called the
Mhm.
office, we picked it up and we talked to them. And so I would have to stop whatever I was doing, pull up their books, give them the answer that they needed. And it wasn't just the 10 minutes I was on the call, it
No.
was like now another 20 minutes to just refigure out where the heck I was to begin with,
Mhm.
and like it's very really interrupts your day to do the context switching. And then various, like for instance, how I like to have that one deep work day where I
Mhm.
know that like this is a day where I can work on a project and probably finish it. Like I'm one of those people that I don't like to start a cleanup unless I think I can finish it or get it as far as I possibly can. And so if I don't have a 4-hour block window, I will continue to put that project off
Hmm. Yes.
forever and ever.
And yeah. And even like on the client side, because I'm a client of other people, other service providers, like I like to know how to be a good client. So like, am I bothering you if I reach out? Like if they don't give me that clear, like between this time is the best time to reach me, or this is the best way to get in touch with me. Like
Yeah.
I have anxiety about reaching out because I'm like, am I bothering you? The people who are super clear, I love
Yeah.
communicating with because I know I'm not bothering them. I know they can get to my stuff, or like I know where I stand. The uncertainty is just I don't like that as a client. So I try not to do that to my clients.
Yeah. I try not to too, but I definitely did that to a client recently. But it was like she onboarded with us and we started the onboarding process and migration. And then she went out of town. And so I think she missed the email that went out that was like, book your onboarding call. And now she's back and she's like, where's everything at? And I'm like, um,
Yeah,
I did send the
yeah.
email, but I didn't follow up on it because it's like a
Mm-hmm.
systemized thing that happens. And I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
know that email went out definitely, but it happens. Things fall through the
Yeah,
cracks. But it
yeah.
felt like at first I was like, oh no, I dropped the ball. And then I went back and I was like, no, I didn't actually. Because she was feeling like out of the loop. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like first impressions with onboarding a new client. You don't want someone to feel like they don't know where things stand. And so now I'm like reevaluating like the onboarding process with that is like, okay, what can we do? Maybe have like a weekly recurring task that pops up when we're onboarding a client that's like, okay, check in with that client and see where things are at, either internally with the team or externally with the client, and give them an update. So I'm like, which feels like a lot of extra work, but it might be worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I do, like especially like onboarding and then cleanups, like at least once a week, update or something like that. Even if they didn't ask, it's like if even if you don't ask for it, it's there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I need to remember to add that into my my little Asana project.
Mhm.
Like we're not recording on Zoom right now, but normally I have all my meetings on Zoom. Now I record with a podcast and Squadcast, but in Zoom I have my AI summary turned on
Oh,
automatically for
okay.
all of my meetings. So I get an email after I end a meeting, even if the meeting isn't video recorded. I have notes with action items. And I'm like, I wish I had that right now. I have to actually remember to write down these bullet points. But luckily, this will be on a podcast I can listen
Well, there you go.
to.
You just remind you remind yourself in the future like what
Yeah.
to do.
Yep.
Hmm.
So right now you said you are kind of early on when did you start your business? In 2021 or 22?
22. Yeah, because this is the third year. Yeah.
Awesome. So as a fairly new bookkeeping business owner, do you have any piece of, I mean, this whole podcast has kind of been like advice, but do you have any pieces of advice for someone just starting out on like, if they're like, I don't really know what to focus on first, what would you say? What is the
Ooh.
like maybe top 3 things to focus on? Because like one thing is probably hard.
I mean, I think that also depends on your background too, like your strengths,
Mm,
because like what I would say the top three would be like your systems, processes, getting that down, and then also just knowledge about how to do the bookkeeping
mhm,
better or more efficiently. I guess it's kind of related to the processes, but I don't think it is because like cleanups, I mean, we can kind of all do one, but just like being better at doing them. So like either a course or getting some mentorship or something. And then the third one is hard, but I would say have a website. I know a lot of people say you don't need one necessarily, but I would say have
mhm.
a website and get, even if you just do it yourself, just have somewhere to point people.
Yeah.
Because I've had like several people over the time I've had a website be like, "Oh yeah, I saw it. You know, it looks like you know what you're doing." I've gotten that comment a couple times, but yeah. So I would say like at least those in the beginning. Yeah, that probably covers the main things. But if you have like good processes or you already have bookkeeping knowledge, you can probably replace that with something else. So.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's a good point. Like you have to know the craft, right? So, and
Yeah.
even to just continue to get better, I think it's a good, but it can also be a crutch for people starting out. Cause I remember
Yeah.
being like, I'll just take all the certifications, and really I should have just been hitting the pavement, getting clients.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then I guess yeah, number 4 I guess is get clients, but I
Yeah.
just feel like that's an obvious one. So yeah.
Yeah, kind of, but some people
Mhm.
definitely need that kick in the pants because they're like stalling and they're like, I'm just gonna wait until everything's perfect to launch.
And really it's because my first client was like a friend who had a business. And I guess this is another idea. I just wanted to practice pitching myself as a bookkeeper. And so I asked her and another friend, like, can I just practice on you guys? And at the end of it, she was like, can you just do my books? And I was like, okay.
That
So
is
that's when I got my
awesome.
first one. But it was just practice. I wasn't trying to get a client. And then the second one was like after a random Facebook post that someone else shared. So it's like tell people, like, because I was not as vocal about it in the beginning. I was kind of embarrassed. So it's like, who am I to be a bookkeeper? But every time I would tell someone, it would pay off eventually. So
Yeah. I think we all struggle with that. I mean, I was at a networking event this morning and I sponsored it, like, but I was still like, she was like, since you're sponsored, I'm gonna have you come up and talk to everyone. And I was like, no, it's okay.
mhm,
But I'm also not at those to get clients. Like I have a pretty good
yeah.
client load right now. And so it's one of those things that I'm like, I'm just working on like building community and visibility and like just
Mhm,
having conversations. Like honestly, I love every time I go to one of these networking events, I end up talking to someone who's kind of newer in business and I just chat with them. And like today, I talked to someone who's a mobile detailer and I was like, "Oh, do you have a subscription service?" And he was
mhm,
like, "No, I've been thinking about adding that because I spend so much time like going back and forth with people on the phone scheduling stuff." And I was like, "Okay, two issues."
yeah.
You need a scheduling platform. So I was like, you should, what's your website on? He's on Squarespace. So I was like, just use Acuity and
Mhm,
also set up a subscription model because you're missing out on revenue and you're
mhm,
wasting time going back and forth. You can set people on a subscription and then schedule out however many auto details or whatever once a month or whatever, do it the same time every month and just get on a consistent schedule. And he was like, well, yeah, that's a really good point. I was like, yeah, that's what I like doing in those things. I'm not up there to like talk about my business. But yeah, so we all end up doing that to ourselves, I think. And I was the same way too, even though I had like years and years and years in corporate in accounting, I still was like afraid to talk about my bookkeeping business. So it can happen to anyone, no matter your experience level. I think it's a different issue. It's a confidence thing.
yeah. And just like now I feel like, oh yeah, I knew what I was doing. It was just the feeling like you know what you're doing. So I guess the other thing is like you know what you're doing, you just need to the rest of you to catch up to it. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, if someone wants to connect with you after listening, where's the best place to find you? Is it Threads?
Well, I would say maybe the my website. Like 2 months ago, I would have said Instagram because I'm on there more, and I'm still kind of on there, but I'm trying to focus more on like Threads, LinkedIn, and then hopefully start like I want to start a podcast too, but that's not like ready yet. So,
Yeah.
but my website would have like all the social links, so
Okay.
just go there
Perfect.
and
We
see where
will
I'm
link
at.
that in the show notes.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for coming on here and sharing with us. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who helps make this podcast possible. Content and interviews are produced by me, Serena Shoup. Our intro and outro music is written and performed by my brother, Ian Gilliam. Editing is also by Ian using his awesome sound engineering skills along with Descript software. Hosting and publishing is by Buzzsprout. And you can check out the show notes for links to all of these amazing resources and resources mentioned in the episode.
Be ambitious.